I've got plans for today. We're going to start working on some towers, and we're going to make something very special. In the bottom of a tower, we're going to make an oubliette. But before I start doing that, in order to make the oubliette, in order to start building up the great tower, because that's what I want to do as well, I need to put some cranes in place. So I've got some materials on me for that. Doesn't need a lot, but we're going to get started. I'm going to put one here, which will be a swivel crane, and I'm going to put a fixed crane over there. So we'll start with the swivel crane, I think. There we go, one crane. It's getting ready to pick something up from here, swing it round, and put it down into what will be a pit. Right, that's our treadwheel crane for making the oubliette. Now I'm going to make a crane over here for the great tower. Back in a tick. Oh look, they're back. Oh, I hope my horse is safe. Yeah, let's just get on with things. Let's leave them to it. There we are. We've got our second treadwheel crane, which is a middle-sized one. There are tutorials for the small one and a large one. They'll be linked in the description below and maybe in the top right corner. Depends if I remember. But this is a middle-sized one, and this structure will just go up and up and up. As the tower goes up, you have to pretend that there is a rope that goes from here diagonally up to there. I tried putting it in with birch fence, and let's be honest, it looked awful. So imaginations, that or I go and capture a chicken. We've got some basic medieval scaffolding in. We've got a ladder limped up against it so we can climb up. So this is now ready to go, but this is not what we are doing today. Oh, and by the way, I can also at the moment still get down just by using the walls as a ramp, because there's evidence of that happening, and you actually see it being done at Warwick Castle as well, which I thought was really interesting. And we've got a little platform here so that a human can get into and out of the treadwheel crane, so that you can walk to turn the treadwheel, which raises and lowers the stone, depending which way you're facing. Okay, enough of that. We have work to do over here. I'm just going to go and grab some supplies. Right, I'll just keep an eye out. Have they gone? Yes, they have. Right. Need to get the stonemasons to do a small job for me. Now, am I worried about there being grassy spots under and around this crane? No, I'm not. Because if you go looking at the photos of this type of crane at Goodalon, and when it gets put somewhere, it's there for several months before it gets moved, you actually see in some of the later photos when it's been in situ for a while that there is grass sprouting up around it. So I'm happy. Now, part of me wants to go into the nether and find some blackstone so that I can make the bottom of this really dark and unpleasant. And part of me at the moment is too terrified. I really want to get some more of the walls done before I start horrendously risking myself. Oh, I don't know if I've got enough supplies, but we'll get started. We need a couple of support logs. And we need to make a floor. I probably should strip these. Yeah, thank you. All right, one floor. Do we have access via a ladder? No. This could take a little bit of toing and froing. I'll be back in a minute. Oh, it'll especially take time if I do that rubbish. All right, I'll get the access worked out. I'll get back to you. I've got it all planned out. We're ready to go down and dig the oubliette. Now, if you notice, we've got some holes in the side walls here. They're called pug holes. There'll also be holes in the sides of the towers as I go up. They'll also be pug holes, but they're for two different things. These ones are for inserting the floor beams into the walls. The ones on the outsides of the towers will be for inserting beams for scaffolding. And the ones on the outside of the towers do get filled as they build the tower up. But if you've been lucky enough to visit a castle ruin and stand inside, you will be able to work out where the floors were, because you'll see rows of pug holes at floor height. The beams have rotted out, the holes are left behind. So what's left to do now? Let's build the oubliette. I will be putting the floor back in once we've finished this. So I'm going to start, now there's different types of oubliette. I'll dig as I talk. That was bound to happen. And I've got ladders to put in as I go. I want to be able to get out. And I'll wait till the sun goes down. I'm not very organised, am I? Where's my bed? Where's my bed? So there's different types of oubliette. There's long, thin ones, which once you throw someone down, there isn't room to lie down or even sit down. Some barely have room to turn around. Others are a little more generous. That's the type I'm building here. They're essentially called bottle dungeons. So it's a long, thin neck and then opening out to a cavern or cell underneath. So that's what I'm doing, basically a bottle dungeon. Still an oubliette, and I'll tell you why. Because oubliette comes from the French word oublier, meaning to forget. And it's where you chuck someone when you basically want to forget about them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, make it about 8 deep. Now, there are some people who say oubliettes are just a Victorian fancy, the product of an overactive, over-imaginative Victorian mind. Now, is it real, or is it a product of Victorian imagination? I actually think it's real. Despite what you may read on the internet, there is evidence that oubliettes existed. The earliest reference I've been able to find is 1372 in the instructions for the jail of the Castellet de Paris. In those instructions, there were listed various punishments that were to be meted out, and it does list people being sentenced to oubliette. Now, part of the argument against an oubliette existing is people say, oh, the Victorians found castle ruins and found grain storage areas in there and said, oh, they must have been places of confinement and torture, and that's what an oubliette is. We actually have quite a few oubliettes surviving, and I don't think they're a great place to store grain. A lot of them are damp, and not just damp now, but there's evidence that they were clearly damp for a very long time. There were those dug into rock underground or by the sea. None of that would have been suitable for grain storage. They're also easily accessible by vermin or insect pests. Not to mention the weirdness of having a really thin storage unit that people can't easily get in and out of, and indeed has no way in and out without external assistance. Ooh, oh, perfect. Oh, we've got some water here. That's excellent. Damp and dank. That's what I want. The grain storage argument just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But if you have contemporary evidence, I would love for you to put that in the comments. Oubliettes were places of confinement and punishment and torture. The one in Warwick Castle, which was built on the order, not by, as if he'd get his hands dirty, which was built on the order of William I, William the Conqueror. He didn't conquer it, he got lucky, but that's my bias. All right. And Oh, look at, oh, brilliant. His oubliette at Warwick Castle is at 45 degrees. It doesn't go straight down the way this one does. There is just enough room for a man, or a woman, most generally a man, to crawl in. Oh, no. What do I want? I want andesite. Okay, that one's staying like that. But once someone crawls in there and the grill is shut, there is no room to sit up. There is certainly no capacity to stand. I'm going to take these two out. Yes, I know. Is it? I want to have a look. This could be really stupid on my part. Yeah, all right. Get out, get out, get out. I don't want to drown. Let's put that there. And that there. Thank you. Much better. I want some more mossy stone and mossy brick, but I'm waiting for vines to grow. Should have thought of that before. And here's the really lovely thing. The floor of the oubliette is lined with sharp rocks. So you force someone to crawl in there and they have to lie down. There's no other option. And they lie on the sharp rocks, and the force of gravity, their flesh is being pushed into the sharp rocks and gradually dragged by their own body weight. I mean, really charming when you think about it. So that's Warwick Castle. You can actually see that oubliette. You can even, if you get permission, crawl into it. I'm not quite sure why you'd want to, but you can. I'm going to have to go up and get some more slabs. I'll try not to fall in. I don't want to fall in. Falling in would be bad. There's an oubliette in the Bastille in Paris and records of sentences. There's an oubliette in St Andrew's Castle, which I have actually seen. It's a bottle dungeon. And the cavern it drops down into has been carved out of the cliff that the castle sits on. And the cliff is right next to the North Sea. So the cavern that forms the cell that prisoners are stuck in is damp. It's very cold. So there we are. We've got our damp dripping corner. We've got mossy stone. We've got it lined. I really would like some black stone. I'm not going to go get it yet. So now I've got to line this and get back up. Okay, that's not as hard as it could be yet. But I don't need to put any in the corners going up. We come up here. We get rid of that. We get rid of that. Yes! And now I put one there. So I can put a waste block in the corners because no one's going to see it. And then just line the rest of this shaft with stone brick blocks. And I can take out the ladder as I go up. Yay. Sorry, the oubliette at St Andrews. Like I said, dank, dark, damp. Pretty terrible. The only way to get into it, there's a little stone room, and on one side of the floor is a hole with a metal grill over it. That leads down to the oubliette. Now, St Andrew's Castle was actually owned by a bishop, or more accurately by a succession of bishops. It was only when Henry VIII dissolved the monasteries that the bishops lost control of it. And why is this in any way relevant? Because one of the bishops was actually imprisoned in his own oubliette in the 1400s. He went mad And that was their idea of mental health care. Now, there are other places that are documented to have oubliettes, both in the UK and in Europe. I've got a grill over this one. Why is that so light down there? I didn't leave a torch down there, did I? That should be pitch dark. Oh well. The thing about the St Andrew's oubliette, let's put the floor back in, was, as I said, access was from a small room lined with stone, not unlike this one. Hole in the floor with a grill, only the hole's more sort of over against a wall. If you've got a torch in here, you've got some light going down into the oubliette, but only if you stand directly over the shaft. The cavern itself is dark. You remove the torch from here, you remove any form of light from down there. The Archbishop, by the way, was at some point fished out and died some years later somewhere else. There we go. So that's our oubliette. And there we go. One dark, dank, damp oubliette. Ready for our foes, ready for our worst enemies, for those who've committed the worst crimes or whom we just don't want to see anymore. So there we go, that's a start. We have made a start on our tower. The back tower here has got an oubliette in it. The great tower has got its crane, so we're ready to build it up. And then we can start on the walls, and I really want next time to map out the Great Hall. And maybe the kitchens? And how mean am I? The kitchens are going to go over here. So whoever's down there might just be able to smell delicious food wafting down into their terrible little cell. Because it was entirely up to the captors whether you chucked food and drink down there or not. If the fall itself hadn't killed the prisoner. So there's links on the screen to some more of my tutorials, and if you've made it this far, put the code phrase in the comments, don't forget. And I'll see you next time. Bye!